and it was very, very interesting. And we kept some kind of a connection since then. Anyway, so
just tell me, what did she think about what you said about the nonprofit?
First of all, I think she's Jew. I'm quite sure. So she have a kind of connection to Israel. She liked it very much. I think as a academic person, a researcher, there's one thing that, you write books and you write reports and and when someone takes it and makes it into an actual thing, I think it's a very interesting thing to see. So she really liked it. So basically, going back to the initial story, her study and other studies shows that girls at the age of 12, when you put a boy and a girl, and both of them will fail an exam, the girl will tend to say, I'm not good at math. I shouldn't deal with math. The boy will say, the exam was wrong, my teacher was wrong, my parents were wrong, I'm fine. And once again, it's just a tendency. It's not 100%, but that's a tendency. And one of the things that Karen and other researchers says that this tendency affects the rest of your life, because it means that you want go to learn learn math in the university. You want apply to positions you don't feel comfortable to take. And it's quite common, the rest of the facts. But what I'm saying, that one of the things that Carol said, that in order to change this tendency is by teaching girls, young girls, and specifically at the age of between 10 to 13, because that's an age where you have a reduction of a drop of 30% in the self-esteem of girls, which is fascinating. And actually, we validated this also in Israel. This was a global fact, but we had a research done a couple of months ago in more than 600 kids in Israel, and we validated also here, unfortunately. And in order to change this, what we do is we teach them how to set goals and how to do a self-feedback. And when I say set goals, for us as mature, sounds quite obvious, but for a 12-year girl, it's not obvious. Saying, let's look at the next month. First, it's not obvious for a girl to say what's going to be in the future. That's one step, which is interesting. And second, in next month, I have an exam in math exam. What should I do in order to get a grade of 80 in this exam? So I need to have a plan. And then you need to follow the plan. And when you get to the exam and you got 75, you should debrief yourself and say, okay, I got 75 not because I'm not good at math. Maybe I did the plan wrong, or maybe I prepared to the exam with not the right person. So you learn how to see in every failure and success as a key to learning. And that's basically where Shavot started. And this is one feature that we are very focused, like it's setting goals and self-feedback. And other fields are public speaking, social networks, entrepreneurship, taking decisions, and it's all being dealt with the inspiration of inspiring women from the history.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that I cannot convince myself that I'm worth, as you say, Shavot. I need to do things in order to overcome my fears, in order to create something in the world, and then see, I can do this. And only this is the only way to really have self-esteem and to really understand that, you can do it. And it's not that you are maybe less successful in math, or you don't know it, or whatever. But what is the difference when you're saying, like, for young teens in general? I have 2 of them at home. So that's very common. What you're saying is that usually when they're not successful, probably they will blame themselves. And that's the component which is different.
Yeah, and I think there are two other layers for this. For what we do is first Shavuot, which is worthy, but in parallel, not in singular. And I'm saying that, and I'm mentioning that because I think that networks in life is one of the most important things. For example, in Israel, most of the male have our military network, which is A200 and everyone and the unit he belonged to. So alumni organization are very strong in Israel. Most of the women don't have alumni network. That's first. So what we are trying to create is each one of the individuals that participate in Shavuot feel worthy, but also to create a network of girls that speak the same language and can help each other by in the rest of their life. So that's one layer. The second layer above that is history was written by mostly male. Most of the inspiring people that we know are male, and that's given. It's the history. And one of the things we try to achieve in Shavuot is to show female inspiring women role models in order to show them, hey, you can be whatever you want. And I think that this layer of you as yourself feel worthy, as a community, you should feel worthy altogether, and you have inspiration, you can do everything. And we truly believe that if you can see it, you can be it.
Yeah. So till now we talked about the social entrepreneurship, and now I want to go into the business entrepreneurship. And how did you do the jump from one thing to the other, and how do you see the connection in general?
It's a good question. So at the age of 30, which was 6 years ago, I decided that I want to get out of my comfort zone. Till then, I was only in the Navy and in the world of social and political entrepreneurship, as I said, NGOs, the Hebrew University Student Union. And I must admit, it was not an easy jump to do. When I came to interviews, I remember one of the first interviews, they looked at me and say, what is your connection to this job, to this word, to this ecosystem? It was really hard to digest, and for me it was part of my I don't know if my mission, my journey, saying, okay, I feel that I know how to do social entrepreneurship. Now I want to see other forms of entrepreneurship. And I insisted, and then I was very consistent, and then somebody opened the door for me in a VC, in a venture capital in Jerusalem, and that was my first step in this world. I participated in an entrepreneurship program in Brandeis University near Boston, but afterwards my first position was in a VC. And today, in a retrospective approach, I can tell you that I see many common dominators between social entrepreneurship and business entrepreneurship. I think the soft skills, whether it's the ability to speak, public speaking, whether it's to be very to have a grit, to have a perseverance, the ability to get no's and to keep doing, to the ability to put people together, to put enthusiasm into the eyes of other people. I think that's very common. Of course, it's a different situation to fundraise for philanthropy and to fundraise as an investment, because the whole relationship based on different incentives. But once again, I think that in the initial parts of building a company, most of it is when you fundraise is based on your ability to harness the trust of the other side in you, not in the idea in you. And that's very similar to NGOs.
Yeah. I could tell you that I work with lots of entrepreneurs through the years, and I've met many of them, and most of them, when I talk to people in this show, I ask people what is the most important part of being an entrepreneur, and most of them would say the mindset, like what you said, like the grit, the perseverance, the insisting to go and meet Carol Dweck, although she's busy and she's not answering, and she tells you just to go away. I think this is the most important part of going through this journey of creating something in an unknown situation, with getting lots of failures and no's, as you said, and the fact that you know that you want to create something is the most important part, because you will probably get lots of downsides on the way. And if you don't have it, so that's the most important part. So for sure that is something which is part of what you're doing, right?
I think an interesting way to look at it, and I thought about it a couple of days ago, as a funnel, like a sales funnel. When you have, this is the word, this is the people you approach, and this is the people you manage to sell. Let's say that's a simplification. Yeah. And when you think about fundraising, whether it's for an NGO or whether for a startup, as a funnel, saying that it set the expectation that you will get no's, and this is natural. That's fine. If you think about life as a funnel, no, it's just another. It's part of the game, and you shouldn't take it personal.
It's even the default, I would say. Like first you get a no. Yeah. And what would you say, like, for people who want to build a company or to be successful in business? Would you say that diversity, when you know about your first hat as social entrepreneur, is important for business too?
Let me take it even to a broader way. So diversity, I think, it's just one form of EQ, of emotional quality. And I think that being able to see reality from the eyes of a different person, which means to be very sensitive about, and I'm not speaking about politically correct. I speak about the ability to truly understand his where he's coming from or she's coming from, and then based on this to make a decision how you react. That's fine. But I think that EQ is a key element for every successful leader. So diversity is just one form of EQ.
Yeah, and we know that when we're talking about numbers, that when you have people like women in your board, you're more successful. If you have more women in your higher management, you're probably making more money in general. And that's why many VCs are trying to get that into consideration, other than the legal or the rules in the country, to just to be, especially, like in the past, I met many entrepreneurs who are building things, let's say, for consumers. And usually most of the consumers in the world are women. In general, they buy more, and they buy everything, not only for themselves. It's not like buying shoes. They're buying the presents. They're buying everything for the house other than electronics. They're the ones who manage everything. And you see lots of men selling to women, not really understanding them in many cases.